Hello, dear students, you are welcome back to STR, Shivarajan's teaching room. In our last episode, we were discussing about the flowers. There, we had an introduction to the flowers. Today, in this episode, we'll be discussing about the different parts of a flower. See, we are very familiar with so many flowers. But do you know the different parts of a flower? Look here. Basically, a flower has four different parts. They are the calyx, C-A-L-Y-X, calyx. Then C-O-R-O-L-L-A, corolla. Then androecium, A-N-D-R-O-E-C-I-U-M, androecium. And gynoecium, G-Y-N-O-E-C-I-U-M. So a flower has basically four different parts: calyx, corolla, androecium, and gynoecium. Calyx is the outermost part of the flower. The flower is born on a small stalk, a small stick-like portion. This is the small stalk. This is called a pedicel. P-E-D-I-C-E-L. So the flower is at the tip of a small stalk. The stalk is called a pedicel. The tip of the pedicel is a flat thing. The tip of the pedicel is a flat thing. It is called a thalamus. So the flower is born at the tip of a pedicel, the stalk of the flower. And the pedicel has a broad flat area at the tip. It is called the thalamus. On the thalamus, the different parts are arranged. Here is the outermost part, the calyx. And here is the second part, the corolla. And here are the stamens, the androecium. The stamens make the androecium. And the innermost part, the gynoecium. These are the four different parts of the flower. So what is pedicel? The stalk-like structure that holds the flower is the pedicel. And what is thalamus? Thalamus is the platform-like or flat tip of the pedicel. And it is on this thalamus that the floral parts are arranged. And there are four different parts to the flower: calyx, corolla, androecium, and gynoecium. The calyx is the outermost part. The calyx is the outermost part of the flower. When the flower is a bud, it covers or protects the inner parts of the flower. So calyx is the protecting outermost part of the flower. And second is the corolla. Second part is the corolla. The corolla is very soft, very beautifully or very attractively colored. Sometimes it may have fragrance or pleasant smell. Sometimes it may have nectar or honey also. And this is the second part. And the unit of the corolla is called a petal. The unit of the corolla is called a petal. And the unit of the calyx is called a sepal. So this is the total part. That is the calyx. And this is the sepal. This is the sepal. So the corolla is the second part of the flower. It is beautifully colored. It is soft. It may have fragrance. It may have nectar. And it has many units. And each unit is called a petal. So this is a petal. This is a petal. Okay. And the third part is the androecium, A-N-D-R-O-E-C-I-U-M. Androecium is the male reproductive part. Androecium is the male reproductive part. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I have drawn 7 stamens. All the 7 stamens together is called androecium. It is the male reproductive part. And each unit of the androecium is called a stamen. So androecium is the male reproductive part. It is made up of so many units, and each unit is called a stamen. So this is a stamen, this is a stamen, this is a stamen, these are all stamens. So 7 stamens I have written here. And each stamen has 2 parts. A very long, slender, very thin, slender means very thin structure called a filament. And at the tip of the filament there is a box-like structure. It is called the anther. So the androecium has many units called stamens, and each stamen has a long, slender stalk-like structure called filament, and at the tip of the filament there is the anther. It is inside the anther that the pollen grains are produced, and the pollen grains contain the male gametes. Okay. Now the innermost part. The innermost part is the gynoecium. 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 Gynoecium is the female reproductive part. Gynoecium is the female reproductive part. It is also called as pistil or carpel. So the gynoecium is the innermost part, and it is the female reproductive part. It is also called the pistil or carpel. And if you take a pistil, it has got 3 parts. What are they? A platform-like structure called stigma, stigma, and a tubular stalk called a style, and a swollen base called the ovary. So this is the stigma. See, this is the stigma, this is the style, and this is the swollen ovary. So the pistil or gynoecium or carpel is the female reproductive part in the flower. It has 3 parts: the stigma, style, and ovary. Inside the ovary there is an ovule. Inside the ovule it develops the embryo sac, and the embryo sac has the female gamete or the egg or the ovum that we will see in the following sessions. So what are the different parts of the flower? A flower has got 4 parts: calyx, corolla, androecium, and gynoecium. Androecium is the male reproductive part. It has many stamens, and each stamen has 2 parts: the filament and anther. And the gynoecium is the female reproductive part, and it has got, or it is also called as pistil or carpel. It has got 3 parts: the stigma, style, and ovary. The ovary has ovule in it, and the ovule has an embryo sac, and the egg or the ovum is inside the embryo sac. So these are the different parts of the flower. Now we will see how a flower develops. See, this is a stem. This stem. So a plant has mainly 2 parts: a part under the soil and part above the soil. The part under the soil is called root, and the part above the soil is called shoot. So this is a part of the shoot. So the tip, this is the tip of the shoot. It is the growing part. The tip of the shoot and tip of the root are the growing parts. And here in this growing part, there is a special type of tissue called the meristematic tissue. So we can say the tip of this shoot contains the apical meristem. Apical meristem. Apical meristem means the meristem seen at the apex, or the apex means at the tip. So it's the apical meristem. The cells in the apical meristem continuously divides and new cells are produced, and the shoot or the branch grows or continues to grow. Now what happens? Due to hormonal changes, the shoot apical meristem changes into, due to hormonal changes, the shoot apical meristem undergoes structural changes and becomes floral meristem. Floral meristem. So how does a flower develop? Due to hormonal changes, the shoot apical meristem, that means the meristem at the tip of the branch, undergoes structural changes and becomes the floral meristem. And from the floral meristem, instead of developing leaves, the floral parts develop. What are the floral parts? Calyx, corolla, stamens and pistil. So due to hormonal changes, the shoot apical meristem undergoes structural changes and it becomes floral meristem. And from this floral meristem, instead of developing new leaves, the floral parts develop. So from the first node, instead of the leaf, it develops the calyx. From the second node, it develops the corolla. From the third node, it develops the stamens. And from the fourth node, it develops the pistil. So calyx, corolla, stamens and pistil. Now look here, there are different nodes. So it does not get the appearance of a flower. Now what happens? These nodes become compact. That means the nodes become compact means they come very, very close. So suppose this is this flower, the apical meristem. Here develops the calyx, then the corolla, then the stamens, then the pistil. Now it has the appearance of a flower. So from each node, instead of developing leaves, it develops the floral parts. So what happens? Here is the calyx, here is the corolla, here is the androecium, and here is the caryecium. Now what happens? The nodes become very compact. That means the nodes come very, very close together, so that it appears that all the four parts are emerging or developing from the same point, giving the appearance of a flower. So how does a flower develop? Due to hormonal changes, the shoot apical meristem undergoes structural changes and develops into floral meristem. From the floral meristem, instead of developing the leaves, it develops the floral parts. So from each node, the floral part develop and the nodes become compact. The compact means the nodes become very close and becomes a flower. That is how a flower is developed. That is most important. So in this episode, we had discussed what are the different parts of the flower and how a flower is developed. And what are the parts of the flower? Calyx, corolla, stamens and pistil, or androecium and gynoecium. And androecium is the male reproductive part and gynoecium is the female reproductive part. So since the male reproductive part and the female reproductive part are present in the flower, we can say that the flower is the sex organ of the plant. It helps in sexual reproduction and leads to the formation of fruits and seeds. So we can say the flowers are the site of sexual reproduction in plants. So the episode or this chapter, when we began the chapter, the first sentence I told was the flowers are the sites of sexual reproduction. So it is repeated here. So the flowers have both the male and female sexual parts. So the flowers are the sites of sexual reproduction in plants. I hope, my dear students, you have understood the different parts of the flower and how a flower is developed. Thank you. We continue the next session.